Okay, so I'm going to start from the very basics. Like I said, this may be boring to some of you, but I see it as a refresher, just to refresh what you already know. Okay, so as in every programming language or every tool has what we call a variable. So to those of you who are already familiar with it, what's a variable in terms of programming language? Yes.
Variable is a name to store value.
Thank you. It's just any name that you use to store anything in your computer memory. Any name to store anything. Okay, so to store values, so that values is what I call anything. So when I say any name, so we can use your name, we can use John, we can use James, you can use different anything. Now, and what is stored is what determines the type of that variable. For instance, if I have a variable called John, a variable that is called John, and I say, okay, this variable is just storing, maybe data scientist, because John is a data scientist. Now, because of what is storing is put inside a quote, we say, John, which is this variable, is a string variable because it's inside a quote. I'm still going to talk about strings properly. Now, if I have another variable that is called age and stores 30, we'll say, this age, because it's storing something that looks like an integer, or whole numbers, we'll say, age is an integer variable. So the type of the variable is derived from what the variable is storing. Okay, so why do we need this variable? We need it for reusability, so that the moment you define this, okay, Python stores this in the memory. So next, once I run this in your Anaconda, you just click the run button, or you press Shift Enter. That will run this like this. That will run that. Shift Enter on your keyboard, or you click the run button. I hope we know how to get to this point, because I'm making a lot of assumption. If you don't, this is what you are going to have. You click on Jupyter Notebook. That's why if you watch the video I put, that would have taken you through that. You can click Jupyter Notebook. That takes you to this point. And then that takes you to this point. I mean, you may not have all of these. You will see these two stuff here. If you don't have a notebook, just click New, click Python 3, and that will open something like this for you. If you have the notebook downloaded on your system from the Canvas dashboard, click on Upload, and that will take you to where you download it, and then you can load it into this place, click it to upload it, and click it to open it. That's all. Okay, so we have different types of variable, but how do we come about a name of the variable? So you could use any name, S1, S, however, I encourage you, because since you're a professional in this field, to use an informative name. Let the name of your variable signify what you want to store into it, for yourself and also for those who will read your code in the future. Okay, so that is it. So that's that about it. So we don't want to, you can't start a variable with a number. A variable can't start with a number. You can't say 13 equals to, let's say, joy. That will give you us, that will really complain. Python will tell us, cannot assign literal, cannot assign to literal, meaning I can't assign to literal. That takes me to another language called assign. In mathematics, we've been taught that this is equal sign, but in programming language, this is not an equal sign. This is an assignment operator, meaning that's why Python is saying, I can't assign. So what do you assign? We assign what is on the right-hand side to what is on the left-hand side. So in this case of John, I'm assigning data scientist to John. So that means anytime I call John, the computer will tell me John is a data scientist. So because the moment I assign this value, the one on the right-hand side, this string, to John, so the computer stores John as carrying this value, as storing the string called data scientist. Okay, so we call it assignment operator. So if you ask me what's then an equal sign, so in Python, an equality sign is double assignment operator. So it's mainly used to ask questions. Like now, I've assigned John to be a data scientist. I'm now saying, okay, is John, this is the equal sign, is John really, maybe is John a data engineer? We said John is a data scientist. Why are you asking John is a data engineer? Python will say, no, John is not a data engineer, actually. John is a data scientist. Are you, John, Abi, are you a data engineer? Maybe.
Working towards it.
Okay. So, but if I say, oh, is John a data scientist? Say true, because Python recognizes John as to be a data scientist. That is it. So this equality sign is mainly used to ask a question, and it leads me to another data type called Boolean. So Boolean is either true or false. Okay, is either true or false. So if you ask, oh, are you a boy? Yes, the yes is what Python is referring as true. The no is the false. Okay, so that's a Boolean that has two values, true or false. The true in Python is treated as 1, and false is treated as 0. Okay, now I'm saying different things at different times. Just try to follow along. So what I've said so far is a variable. We said a variable is a name to store values. And I said the type of values they store determines the type of that variable. Like John equals to data scientist. Because data scientist is inside a quote, it's called a string. So we call John a string variable. Age is equals to 30. 30 is a number, so we call age an integer variable. And I said that equal sign you saw there is not really an equal sign, it's an assignment operator. Okay, equal sign is used to confirm what you have already stored in it. It's used to confirm an operation that, oh, John is equals to data scientist. Really, you're asking a question, is John equals to a data scientist? That's mainly the way Python interprets that. Okay, so we use double equal sign for that. And like if I say, oh, is John not equal? So the not equal is exclamation mark equal sign. The exclamation mark before equal sign. So that's not equal. So this is John not equal to a data scientist? It's going to tell me false because John is a data scientist. Okay. All right. Now, what if I just mistakenly change this S? Is Python so smart? Now, to us, this is the same, almost like the same thing. Data scientist, that's all. To Python, is it the same? Let's use equals. Let's use equals. Python say false. Is Python not lying? We said data scientist. Python is now saying no. Now that leads me to another point, that Python is case sensitive. Now, does Python really recognize data scientists? No. What Python doesn't care about you saying is a data scientist. What it cares about are the letters that you put there. So when you put equals to this, what Python is checking the letter one by one. D, D, A, T, T, A, space, S. And it says, oh, this capital letter, this small letter S. Oh, no, they are not the same thing. That's what Python is doing. It's not really interested in the whole world as it is. It doesn't recognize that. Someone want to ask a question? Or are we good? Okay. All right, I can go on. So that's just what is going. You know, I need to let you put all of the, because all of this simple thing, as simple as it is, it can frustrate. That's the truth, especially at the very beginning. Yeah, that's why I would never advise you to use a variable name as a capital letter, because I could put John here as capital letter J, and elsewhere I'll be typing small letter D's. If I run this now, and I come here and I say, okay, John, it's going to tell me John is not defined. If I run the, let me see this. Okay, it has recognized this particular small John before. So that's why if I reset, let me restart and see. So let's run this guy. Let's run this now. Oh, name John is not defined because you use capital letter J here. So Python is case sensitive. And that's why I don't advise you to use capital letter for a variable name, because you may not remember that. So that's it. So Python is case sensitive. It's checking letters by letters anytime you are checking. This is more like a comparison. The equal sign here is comparing what is on the right hand side to the left hand side. That's all. Okay. Yeah, so that's about variable. If you have a question, please feel free to stop me while I'm speaking. That will be fine. Okay. Now I've been mentioning types of variable. How do I know this is a string? How do I know this is an integer or this is a Boolean? Yeah, there's a way you can check it using the type function. What's a function? We'll get to that later. Okay, so if I do type of, let me comment this age so that we can check the type of John. So it tells me str. What's str? String. We'll get to string later, but just know that anything inside a quote is a string. Be it single quote or double quote is a string. Anything, and I mean anything. Okay, so str in Python stands for string. So it tells us that, oh, John is a string variable. If we check age, what about age? Oh no, age is an integer. That's because it's a whole number. What if I put, I know sometimes nobody called 30 and up, but you know sometimes if you are born in, let's say January and we're now in August, you say, okay, I'm 30 and I'm 30 plus, you know. So what about if we put 30.5, is it still an integer? Let's see. So no, he said, no, that's not an integer. That is a float. So that's to tell us we have another type of variable called a floating point, a float variable. So what's a float variable or floating point type? It's just a number with the decimal number, actually. So decimal number is called float. A whole number is called an integer. Anything inside the code is called a string. So these are the most common types. The Boolean I told you, if you define a variable, let's call it, let's just call it bool1. And we say, okay, this guy is true. Not my true, that is all, the first letter is capital letter and all others are small letter. If I change it to just small t, you can see the color change. So Python doesn't recognize this as true. In another programming language, you can use like C++ is small letter t, but in Python is capital letter T. Okay, and not all uppercase. If I do this, it doesn't recognize that. So Python all this environment tries to help us with the color so that you can know which one is Python keyword. So if I put this, so this is a Boolean. If you want to check type of bool1. If I'm too fast, please feel free to let me know. Just tell me, Kenny, you're too fast, please slow down. It's not an offense, okay? Yeah, so this is bool. Bool stands for Boolean. Boolean, so is that true or false? So I've talked about the variable, the different types of variables, string, floats, integer, Boolean, and I've talked about that Python is case sensitive, how to define a variable and so on. I've showed you how to check the data type using the type function. Which one is integer division? What's even arithmetic? All these your plus, times, minus, exponents. You can do that here. Okay, we said age is 30. We've defined, oh, okay, we now have 30.5. So if we do age times 2, we can do that. That's multiply whatever we've stored as age multiplied by 2. So your multiplication is asterisk. Okay, now your shift 8. That's your asterisk. That's the multiplication operator. What about division? Just your is this your forward slash? So if you do that, that's your division. Your subtraction, we know that one, that's minus. Your plus is plus, you know, things like that. What if I want to, I know age is a decimal number, and if I divide it by 2, age is a floating point variable, and it gives me, what if I just want to get a whole number, like the 15 part? That's what we call integer division, meaning a way to divide, to make sure when you divide 2, you divide a number by another number, you want to get whole number. You don't want to get decimal. So you put double forward slash. That's the integer division. So if I do this, that just gives me the 15. Okay, it's going to remove the reason you are seeing this 0.0 is because it's a floating point. Okay, and I can convert everything back to integer if I want it to be an integer. Okay. All right, so you just use the int function to stand for integer to change it to int. So what I'm saying is, if we later define age to be, let's say 27, normally if I do age divided by 2, I'm going to get decimal. But if I say integer division now, it's going to give me just the 13. Question, or is this still very clear? Mojisola, Mr. Ayo, Mr. Shola, any question? Are we good?
Right on, Mr. Kenny.
No, sorry, Mr. Kenny, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
Using this double slash, it's
Yes.
actually not giving you the exact, the correct answer. Is that allowed?
You want to round it down?
No, like it was 13.25.
Okay.
Yeah.
This particular one is 13.5. Okay, what do you want to give us? Like, no, if I use normal.
It's not supposed to, like that 13.5 is supposed to round it up to like 14.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Now, this integer division is doing what we call a floor division. Now, if you wanted to do round it up, I think there is a function called ceil. I think so. But you may have to import it from, I think, math. So math.ceil, I think so. I don't memorize things actually. Let's see. So there is a function that will help you do that. Yes, I'm not too sure whether ceil is there, but I'm not too sure. But there is a function, there is, no, let me use this. Okay, this is it. Yeah, it's ceil. Yeah. So, you know, when you do so if you want it to round up, so the rounding down, what the integer division is what we call a floor division. So if you do math.floor, it's just going to give you the integer part. And if you wanted to round it up, you use the ceil function, like a ceiling, like ceiling is up, floor is down. Do you get? So that's where the name comes from. So ceiling is up, floor is down. So you want to round it down, you use the floor. You want to round it up, you use the ceiling, which is called ceil. Do you get? Yeah. And that's why when we do this now, age divided by 2, 27 divided by 2, normally is 13.5. But when we do math.ceil, it round it up to 14. I think it also have the floor. So you can see it give me 13.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it.
So instead of using the floor, you can just use the double slash.
Exactly. So you can just use integer division by doing this, and that will give you the 13.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now let's move properly to string. So we've had the basics and all of that. Let's move properly to string. So we said earlier on that a string is anything inside a quote. The reason I was using anything, it may not just be a text. So even if I put a number, a variable called a num, and I put 25. Now, because 25 is inside these quotes, it's still a string. It's not a number. However, Python understands that, oh, this is a string that contains a number. Python knows. And there is a way you can check for it if you're interested. Okay, but if you check the type, it is still a string. That's why I'm saying anything inside a quote, because it could also be a number. Okay, so let's say we have a string called this. What can we do with it? We can do a lot. And the reason you need to know this is because as we move on, you're going to be working with strings. So I just want to lay the foundation so that you know where we're coming from. So we have a string that says, oh, data science or analytics is the new oil of the 21st century, even in Africa. Now, as humans, if I ask you that, what is the length of this string? One thing that may want to come to your mind is to, maybe start counting. This 1, 2, 3, 4. Even not count the space and move on. But the space is part of the string. Even if I do this, all those spaces are part of the string. Now, computers are good at counting how many spaces these are. Humans, I don't know how many spaces are here. I can just say this is one space, but that's not true. But computers are good at counting the space using your space key by saying, oh, you've done this space like 3 times. So that's why we lean on computers, on programming to help us with this kind of issue of someone wrote a sentence and put just many spaces there. Python is going to count those spaces as part of the length of the string. Okay. And I want to say this is okay, when we get to indexing, I'll talk about that. So if we want to get instead of counting, which you can make mistake, we have a function that can do that. For those of you who already know this, anybody, can you remind me the function to find the length of the string? Yes. I said, what?
Len.
Len. So instead of length, Python shortened it to len. There are other programming languages that use length, okay? Like R, for those of you who are in analytics who may want to look at R program. So R uses length, okay? But Python uses len, str1, okay? So if I do that, so Python tells me the length of this string, the characters there and the space, everything amount to 75. So, and even if I type any other word, I don't need, Python will automatically just give me the length of the new string. So that's how to find the length of the string. This function comes in handy and I'll be using it a lot. Okay, so take note of that. It's a function. We'll talk about function method as we move on. All right, so there are a couple of things we can do with this string. Now, I'll focus mainly on what we call the indexing. By indexing, I mean retrieving some part of the string. Okay, this is a string. What if I just say, okay, give me the first, I know as humans, I can say, what's the first letter in this string? Oh, you can easily say, oh, it's D. What is the second letter? It's A. What is the last letter? It's still small letter A. What is the 10th? Then we can begin to count. What's the 21st? Oh no. So that's where computer will beat us. We will have to be counting to that position. But computer can just look at it. Python will just say, oh, it is the 21st is, let's say, letter O, straight before you get there. So that's where Python begin to do his work and all of that. So that's what we call indexing, retrieving some part, a single part of the string. Mind my word, single part. That's indexing. By the time we want to get more than single, multiple, it's called slicing, but we'll talk about that. Okay. So let's say I want to get the first element. We all know is D. Now, this is where I must throw some caution that Python is zero indexed. Indexing just means position, okay? Okay, position, getting element in specific position. So Python is zero index mean Python start counting its position from zero. That's weird, but that's how most programming, not all, at least programming like Java, Python, C++, they're all from zero, okay? But I think R is from 1, yeah. So zero start counting from, so Python see this capital letter D as it being in position 0, and A in position 1, T in position 2, A in position 3, the space in position 4, and so on, like that. So if we say we want XTR1, now to index, you have to use a square bracket every time. You want to index, you want to slice, the variable name followed by a square bracket. Variable name followed by a square bracket. Please stop me batching if you want. If you have any question at any time, don't wait for me to just solve. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't get that. Please rewind. I will repeat it again. Okay. Yeah. So if I put 0 there, Python says, okay, you are asking me for the first element in that variable called str1. So if I do that, Python just give me D. If I put 1, you're asking me for the second element, A. If I put 2, you're asking me for the third. What if I get, so what if I want to get the last one? How am I going to count to this point? Fine, we know that the length is 75. Okay, can I put 75 there? Will it work? Those of you who are champions, professors, James, will this work? James is sleeping. No, James has gone. Okay.
It's not up to 75, so I don't think.
No, it's not up to.
Okay, that's good. It's not up to. Even though the length, I wanted to make a point by using this word. So string index out of range. You will, I know at the very beginning, you're going to be getting this kind of error. Now, Python is saying, you are asking me more than what is available. So I'm telling you the string is out of range. I don't see any letter there. That's what Python is telling you. And why? But our length says that we have 75. Python is lying. No. Python is starting from 0. Remember, when it's indexing, but when it's counting to find the length, it's not counting from 0. That's weird. It's confusing. No. So Python is counting from 1, like, oh, 1, 2, 3. But if you want to index, it's indexed from 0. So that means the actual position of the last letter is what? Hello? Is what?
74.
74. That's right. So that is it. So if I put 74, then Python, okay, now I get it. You mean the last letter. That's it. So the length is counting from 1, to just give you the number of length, the length of the string. But when you are indexing, it's from 0. Okay. All right. So that's, and we can index at any point. So if you want to get the last, I know we can use 74, but must we always find the length and then remove 1 from it to get the last? No. Python provide an alternative to also index from the back. So I would say that when what you want to index is very small, you can use index from the front, but if you need some element towards the end of the string, you can use the other indexing, which we call negative indexing. So from the front is positive, but from the back is negative. So something like to get the last element, I can just, instead of 74, you can just do -1. And when you do this, Python gives you the same thing, the last element A. What if I put -2? I'm saying second to the last. So this is C. Yeah, please excuse me for a minute. Okay, yeah. So this, so we can use, so this is saying second to the last, all right? And that gives us C, which is this second to the last. So you can do -3, -4 like that. Now, what if I want to get more than just a single element? Like I said before, that's what we call slicing. It's just like a slice of bread. You know, you have a bread and then you dice it into different slices, so many slices. So that's where the word slice comes from, slicing here to that. You're slicing the string, like we have a complete string as one loaf of bread, and then you dice it into pieces by getting, okay, just give me the first 2 loaves of that bread, or the 2 in the middle, the 3 at the middle, you know, like that, or the last 5. I used to like the last, you know, part of that bread, or the front is always big and fat. I want that. So that's where this slicing comes from.
Sorry, Mr. Ken.
Yeah.
Please, I want to ask you a question.
Please go ahead.
Why do you need to count from the end when you can always count from the beginning?
Yeah.
Like this, your minus this is now.
Okay.
I can actually do -74 and it's going to give me D in data.
Okay.
Yes. So why do I need to count from the end when I can count from the beginning?
Okay, so let me see. Data science or analytics is the new oil of the 21st century, even in Africa, but already happening in the developed country. What is the last element, sir? Give me the position of the last element in this new string. Are you with me, sir?
Sorry, I don't understand what you mean.
Give me the position of this last element in this new string. You know, I've updated it.
Yes.
I want the position of this last one.
I think we have to get the length of the string first.
Okay. Don't you see that is stressful? That I have to first find the length. So find the length of the string and then subtract 1 from it. And I can, and then now, so I have to pass through length, find the length, subtract 1, and then so that index I will now pass it inside that string. Is it not, which one is straightforward? What do you think? So, and then you can even, what if I forget the length function? Oh, I can't even remember how to find the length. So that's so stressful. So you have alternatives. You have different ways of doing it. You can choose to go through that route, or first finding the length, subtract 1, and then use that number to index the string, which is positive indexing. And there is a fastest way of giving you, because the reason is this: all these things you are seeing one by one, we are still going to be combining them in a long code. So in that case, it will be much more stressful for you, because the string is, you don't know the string, you don't even know where the string is, you have no idea. So you first say, okay, I want to find the length, and you are not writing, you know, we are writing a single line of code here. If we get there today, fine, or tomorrow, we'll see us writing 5 lines, 10 lines of code. So that's it. So in that case, it will not be as easy as what you think. First finding the length and then subtracting 1, especially when we are now doing something called for loop. That will be a pain, you know, and you can even have errors in the code. So it's better to use all these short cuts. Okay, so that's why Python gives us another alternative of the negative indexing. Okay, and I'll even give you another example when we want to do the reverse, how to reverse a string. Maybe you do that, you find out for me how to reverse that string without negative indexing. Maybe. I don't know one, but you know, I don't know everything. Yeah, so the best thing is just to use the negative one, -1. I don't care the length. I just need the last one, that's all. So that's the negative indexing. I mean, the same way you start from I know the beginning is 0, the last, you know, there's no -0. 0 is 0. And that's why it's starting from -1 at the end. Because there's no -0. -0 is 0, right? So, yeah. So, and that's why it starts with -1, -2, like that. Okay. So, yeah. So that's how to get the last element. So now slicing is, like I told you, slice, you want to get multiple stuff in a string. So that what if I want to get the first 4 or the last 4 or the one in the 5 to 8, 10 to 15, things like that? How do I retrieve that? So retrieving multiple elements in a string that's what we call slicing. And that's why I gave an instance of that of bread. So if we do SCR1, now we have data analytics is an essential skill. So we put this. Now, before we were putting 0 and give us the first element. Now, what if I say the first 4? Now, you need 3 things here. You need the index or the position you want to start from. You need the position you want to stop. And then you need something like that. Say, okay, 0, let's say 0, 2, like that, 2, TO, 2, things like that. So the starting position, let's say I want the first 4. So the starting position is 0. And then my colon to stand for, okay, the range to where? I want maybe the first 4. But if I put 4, will it give me the first 4 letters? Yes. But first 4, starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 letters. Why does it return 4? Python is a scam. No. In slicing, it doesn't, when you put 4, it's going to stop at a number before 4. So this slicing is the starting point is inclusive, the ending point is exclusive, meaning if you put 5, it stops at 4. If you put 4, it stops at 3. If you put 3, it stops at 2. You put 1, it stops at 0. Yeah, so that's just it. So it's the slicing, the ending point is exclusive. So this gives me the first 4. What if I don't even say, okay, I just want to test Python, is Python smart? Remove 0, just put space, empty, colon, 4. Python will term that as 0. It's still going to work. So Python will say, okay, I assume you mean something on here means 0. Okay, so but before the colon is always the starting point, after the colon is the ending point. What if I want something from the 4th, 0, 1, 2, 3, or the 3, from the 3 to 10? Python will work. Now, the top position is this. I just put 3 so that you can see the space too. Python sees the space as the position 4, and then the remaining one. So this is the starting point. This is the ending point. Remember, it's not good. The ending point is exclusive, and this is just like the range you want to go. Okay, and we can do that too from. But if I put, what about I just put 3? Okay, Python will say, okay, you just want me to start at position 3 and move all the way to the end. That's why you didn't specify the ending position. Just go from there to the end. Yes, Python understand that that's all you mean. Okay. What if I want the last 3? If I put, since I can use negative indexing here, you know, if you're not using negative indexing, you have to find the length. Okay, subtract. Okay, if the length is 75, subtract 1, that's 74 is the last one. Now maybe 72 is the last. You can see the stress. I can just tell Python -3 colon. That means start from the third to the end and move all the way to the end. And that Python just give me the last 3. You can see where negative index is very, very beneficial now. So instead of using the positive one, in this case now, you can result to 0. You can actually get some errors if you're not careful. Please, if you have questions or if I'm too fast, please stop me. Just say, oh no, you are way, way too fast. So, but how do we reverse a string? How do we make this string to go from LLIKS space LA like that up to D? How do we reverse this? I will want, first of all, anyone between Mr. Shola and Mr. Ayo. Do you want to try? No, Kenny, you're asking me too much. Do you want to try? I can see Mr. Shola, you want to say something? Yeah?
Not really, not really.
Okay. All right, John. I always like calling your name. Yeah. Yes, John. You know, I'm Peter and John James. They are very.
Sorry, I didn't hear your question.
How do you
Sorry.
reverse this string?
Okay, how do I reverse the string?
Yeah, to make it go from the end to the beginning. Do you remember? John has used it to do Excel.
I know that should be -1 to 0, but that should be
Okay,
reversed
so
now.
John says -1 to 0. John has used this thing to do Excel. No, this say no, this empty string.
-1 colon -1.
Okay, James said no, I want to rescue my brother. Yes, -1 colon what?
-1.
-1 again.
Yeah, the step.
Johnny, James. Okay, good. So instead of this -1, we can remove this actually.
Colon.
And just put colon there. Yeah, thank you, James, for rescuing us. Yeah, so that's the, so to reverse. Now, what's going on here? How did James come about -1 or colon -1? What does this mean? Why are we having double colon? I know there are a lot of that question coming up. Now, let me tell you what is going on. Now, when we did 0:3, or even if I put 0 colon, Python just start from the beginning and goes to the end. And even if I don't put anything, Python still go from the beginning to the end. Now, because this is the starting point, this is the ending point. But when I put another colon, and I put, let's say 2, what the second colon is saying is the step. Like, oh, now I want to go from the beginning to the end, but step of 2. I want to jump I want to move like by jumping to just like jumping the steps in twos. Like D, jump A to T, jump A to the space, jump L, A to N, like that. That's what this second colon is doing. It's like a jump, okay? You will see that us using it as we move on. All of these bits and pieces, please put them together. We're still going to put them together. So I will advise you to take note of them, okay? Now, so this is like a step. Now, by how many steps do we go is this last stuff you are seeing there, these 2. If I put 3, it's going to be going in step of 3. If I put 1, it's just going to be like the normal one, because all the previous one is just in step of 1. So, but if I now want to move from the back, I'll put minus. By how many steps? That's when, if I now put 1, it's going to go from the back to the end, to the beginning in step of 1. That's what is going on. But if I put, so not the 1 that is actually reversing, is the minus that is reversing. But if I put -2, it's still going to reverse from the end to the beginning, but now in step of 2. So the minus, the negative indexing, that minus is what reverses the string. by how many steps do you want to be moving? That one now depends on you. So if you put -1, you just reverse the string by moving in step of 1. That's all. So that's what is going on in this reversing the string. I hope this is clear. Okay. Now, so let's move to methods on a string like that, so that string is actually the lengthy one. After strings, the remaining ones, we are just going to be building on what we've learned in strings. That's all. Once you understand string very well, I think other ones is just like transfer knowledge. It will be kind of easy. Yeah. All right. So I've used the word functions, learn function. What's this guy talking about again? Methods. What do you mean by method? Is this methodology? No, this is not methodology. So these are just terminologies in programming. Okay. And I'm purposely using these terminologies so because you need them if you will use a program. Every programming language have, and every programming language have this terminology of method and functions. So you know it here, you know it tomorrow when you pick up another language. Okay, so I will show you what we mean by method. How is it different from function? Python can be confusing. Well, they are very similar, but I will tell you where the name comes from, why are they calling this method, why are they calling the other functions. Okay, can I use them interchangeably? Only you can answer that. Okay, now what we think is what we become. That's a string here. Okay, although this statement is true, but I'm not interested in that for now. I'm interested in it being a string. Okay, so what we think is what we become is the name of this variable. Now, we can do a lot of stuff here. We can count how many times the word we occurs, how many times the word or what here is different from what here. Who can tell me why? Why is this word different from this word? Who can just sharp.
Capitalization.
Yeah, the capitalization, the Python is case sensitive. This capital letter W, this small letter, so they are different. But let's look at the we that are the same. We can count how many times this word occurs. We can turn all of this to all capital letter. We can turn all of this to all small letter. We can capitalize or turn the, anyway, this one is only first letter. But if I do small, okay, now words are the same. I can turn this small letter here to capital letter, only this one. And we can turn the beginning of every first letter to capital letter. So all of these things I've mentioned here, there are methods for each one of them. And where does the word method come from? And this is a good time to talk about it. So you remember that when I wanted to count the length of the string, I said we use the function called len. And then we said we first type the function. So James had to remember that there is a function called len. And so that's why he mentioned it. And so you have to first type the name of the function and pass in the string you want to count. And that tells us, oh, there are 32. But that's a function. You have to remember the name. You have to start by writing the name of the function. Then in bracket, pass in the variable you want to apply the function on. But for method, I don't need to remember what the name of the function is. In fact, maybe because I work with this every day, that's why I just know it. But still, I'm too lazy to type them out. I just write and press tab for Python to autocomplete it for me, or list them out if I'm not too sure. I want to be sure. That's the truth. I still do that because I don't memorize. Okay, so for method, you have to first type the variable. Unlike function that we have to first type the function, put in bracket and pass in the variable. For method, you have to first type the variable, put a dot and press tab. See, bam. Python just, okay, these are the, if you're working with other IDs like Visual Studio Code, PyCharm, you don't need to press any tab. Once you put dot, it's going to pop these things out for you. These things that just pop out, but in Jupyter Notebook, you have to press tab. In other ID, as you are typing, you put dot, it's going to automatically list them out. But why are you now using Jupyter? All those other ID, they are not interactive like these that run and see the result. You have to write it. You have to run everything in other ID. So that's why I'm using Jupyter Notebook. So I will scroll down. I want to count how many times the word we occurs. So do we have something called count? Yeah, this is it here. What do we count? How do we use this count? I don't even know. What should I put in? Just press Shift Tab. Shift Tab. That will give you the documentation. Shift Tab, Shift Tab, Shift Tab, you know. So if you do that, oh, what does it do? It returns the number of non-overlapping occurrences of substring, sub, in this string. Oh, this is more confusing. I don't even know what is this talking about. What it's saying is this. Now, when you have a string, this is a whole string. Now, what on its own is a sub of that string, you know, like a subset, sub, part of it. The word we is also a sub of the whole string, a part of that string. So that's what it's saying that, oh, this returns the number of non-overlapping occurrences, like how many times this substring occurs in the whole string. So that means I need to pass in the sub. That's the substring I want to count. In this case is we. Okay. So if I do that, it tells me, oh, we occurs 2 times. And I can do that for what too? Oh, what also occurs 2 times because I've changed this to lowercase. So that's what is going on. So it's counting for, do I really need count in my data analytics? So you don't know when you need it, you might need it. Okay. Yeah. So what if I want to turn all of these to all capital letter? I don't want to go back and type STR3 and write everything in all uppercase. Yes, you can do that. So we want to turn it to uppercase. Uppercase means all capital letter. So STR2, put dot and press tab. Oh, is it capitalized? But I said uppercase. So is there anything called upper? So I don't want to be scrolling down. Just streamline this side by typing U. Oh, you reduce it to this just upper. It's a method, so it must end with bracket. What are we turning to uppercase? I don't need to pass anything because I want to turn the whole string to uppercase. So it doesn't take any argument. You see, there's nothing inside. It just says returns a copy of the string converted to uppercase. That's all. So if I do this, oh no, what we think is what will become. Now we got it. Please feel free to stop me and ask question, please. Oh no, you are moving too fast. Slow down. I will, please. All right, capitalize. What's the meaning of capitalize? It's to turn just the first letter of that string, of that sentence, to capital letter. I hope I'm correct. So if you do dot press tab, or capitalize is the first method there. Just passing this. And see, yep. So this turns just that first letter to capital letter, to uppercase. What of title? Title will turn the beginning of the first letter of each word to a capital letter. I believe so. If you put dot and press tab, title, yeah, we have title, we have translate. I don't think I've used that translate before. You can see, so we have what we think is what we become, like that. What about split? Why do we need to split? This method comes in handy a lot, especially those of you who is thinking of tomorrow's enhancing your programming skills. You're going to be, the text is becoming very, very ubiquitous now, like everywhere now. So you will have to use this method called split. But split is what we turn a string to what we call a list of strings. And that's why
Please, I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
If this upper one is what you use for what we think, Abby? string upper.
This
What?
one.
Yeah, what if I want to capitalize just the first letter? That's the word, the W, and leave the others. How will I do that?
That's what this does. Let's comment this. So if you do SL2 dot capitalize,
Mhm.
see,
Okay, so which one did the whole thing? The title.
no. So let's check uppercase.
Okay.
Upper.
Okay.
So what the title is doing is the first letter of every
First letter
word.
of every word. Okay, thank you.
Yep, that's what title is doing. Yeah. Okay, so when you split the string, you get list of string. You know, this is one string, but we want to dice this whole string into a list of strings so that we can have what as a string on its own, we as another string, think as another string is another string like that. So that's where we use the word split. Split. So we can call str2 dot and press tab. Where is split? So we have split. You can see different methods. So you can experiment with all of these. Start with, if you want to ask Python, does this string start with, let's say, the word what? It's going to tell you yes or no. Strip, split, you can do all of that. So split, by default, split, we split by white space. White space means space. So it returns a list of the words in the string using this sep as a delimiter. So by default, it's putting no, but if you don't put anything, it's going to use the default value means according to any white space. So it's going to go into the string where it sees the white space. It's going to, okay, it's starting from here. And once it sees space, it's okay, now I've come to the end of this first word. Then it splits that. It comes to the second one. Once it sees space, it knows that's the end of that word. So if I do this is what you're going to have. List of the strings. So now we have not one complete string, but now list of strings. So why do we call this a list? We use the word list every day. Why do I know this is a list of string? One is this square bracket. I will talk about list very well now. This square bracket, and then you can see the comma between each word. But this square bracket in Python is what denotes a list. Question, are we good so far? Mr. Tolu, are you good?
Hello.
Are you good?
Yeah, I actually joined late. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but you're familiar with all of this stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Mr. Shola, Mr. Ayo, are you good? Mr. AY.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Oh, good, good.
All right, good. Okay, now let's move properly to list. So now what's a list? There's something I didn't say about a string, that a string is what we call immutable, meaning once you define it, it doesn't want you to replace it, like it doesn't want you to change what you have defined. It doesn't, it doesn't want it. Like I've defined the string str2. Now, if I say, okay, I want to update, let me use the word update. It doesn't want you to update a string as you have defined. Like if I do, okay, can you update the first element instead of small letter W, I want you to put capital letter W. Python will complain because it sees string as immutable, so it doesn't want you to update anything there. Yeah, so that's what string is. It doesn't mean we cannot replace, because I know someone has asked me here before that, oh, but I can replace the first letter. Like I can replace something. Wait, let me get error so that I can show. So I can replace something. Okay, this is E, capital. I can replace something like the old small letter by capital letter, but be careful of this. If I put this, let me put small letter W. I want it to replace by capital letter W. Now, you think this worked. Oh, this replaced all the small letter W with capital letter W, even though I only want to change it. But does it really change it? Let's be sure. Let's type STR2 on its own. Oh, it didn't change it. Why? Yes, because Python will not allow you to replace that except you assign this to a new variable on its own and say, okay, this is called new STR2. Then if I not run this, then this will be saved, new STR2. But that you want to replace it in the original one, that will not work. So this will work if you assign it to a different variable. So, but replacing it in the original one, that will not work. But list is mutable, meaning if you define it, you can update it. You can change some things there. Now, remember I said list must be in a square bracket. Now, a list is mutable, like I've said. You can put in different things there. You can put a string, an integer, a float. You can even put another list inside. List doesn't really care. And you can change anything there. Now, all the indexing we've talked about, they are the same. You index from 0, you get the last element, slicing, the same thing, reversing, the same thing. So that will be fast. I'll talk about that very fast because we spend quite a lot of time there. So someone to remind me again, how do you get the second element here in this list? The second element is this Iron Man. How do we get it? Someone should remind me. Yes. What index is that?
1.
1. Because Python starts from 0, like that. What about the last element?
-1.
-1. You know, so the last element here is this list, and Python just gives me. So it's not the 39, it's the list. What if I just want to get the 39? Now you have to first get the last element. Since you know the last element is a list on its own, so inside this list, the last element is now 1. So then Python will give you 39. But you have to first get the last element, which is a list on its own. The Mango is index 0 in that last element. 39 is index 1. So if I want Mango, I'll just put 0 and that'll give me Mango. So, but you have to first get the last element. Okay. So indexing is the same. So I will skip indexing, and reversing is the same. If I call Avengers and I put dot -1, it's still going to give me the same thing. You reverse it from the end to the beginning, just like what we did in string, same thing. Now updating, which we couldn't do in strings, we can do that in list because list is mutable. Please give me a minute, please. Thank you. Okay, so that's that about slicing in list is the same thing. Now updating, like we want to change, instead of awk, we want to change it to something else. So we can do the updating here in list because list is mutable. So since awk is at position 0, get the index and say, okay, I want you to assign what I'm putting on the right as the first element in that list. So let's say we put video. Yeah, so if we call Avengers now, you see that Avengers would have been updated. Now is now video instead of Hawk is now video because we are saying assign this video to the element in this position 0. If we change it to position 1, then that will be video again because it saves the result. So you can see that. So because I made a mistake, what if I want to remove it? I want to remove one of these video. Which of them? Maybe the one in position 0 or position 1. So we can do that by using, there is a method that will lead method in this called pop, though I will talk about method now, and say pop the element in the second position. And he's saying, okay, I've popped out video. So let's check Avengers now. Now we don't have the second element again. Okay. Sorry, if there is noise in your background, please, you can be muted. All right. So that's that. And we can add elements to it. We can add elements to this list. We can add elements to it using the append method. Now, Avengers is, let's call Avengers again and see. So this is what we have in Avengers. So what if I want to add something to it? Maybe I still want to add org, so I can call the variable do dot, and you say append. So we have different methods, which I will talk about very well now. But so append, what append we do is to add elements, to add whatever you want to append it to the list, but it's going to append it to the end of the list. So if I click append and I put, okay, add the element called org, but it's going to add it to the end of the list. So if I call Avengers now it adds org to the end of the list. We'll be using this one a lot. Yeah, because you want to append to the end of the list. What if I want to append it to the beginning? There's also another method that can do that. It's called insert. Okay, so insert, you have to specify the position, the index, the position where you want to insert, and then what you want to insert. Two things. The position of what you want to insert should be the second stuff, and the index is the position where you want to insert that thing. Now, if I want to insert something at position 0, I'll put 0, and then what do I want to insert? Let's say I want to insert America. So if I call Avengers again, we'll see that that has been inserted in that position. So I've stylishly talked about list and some methods in list. Yeah, some methods in list, like append, insert, pop to remove elements from the list. Okay. So I've talked about the list, the in operator. Should I talk about now, or let me talk about in later? Okay. These are common things you can also do, like functions on methods. You have functions on list. You have a list of numbers. You can find the maximum. You can find the minimum. You can find the sum. So, but these are functions, okay? Like if I say max of L1, that'll give me the maximum number there, the highest number. The minimum of L1, that will give me the minimum, the smallest. What about sum? There is a function called sum that will add everything together. What about mean? Do we have a function called mean? Oh no, there's no function called mean. That's why it's not green. So how do we calculate mean normally? If you want to calculate mean, how do we calculate it?
Summation fx over summation f.
This man is a mathematician. It's a summation fs. What's fx? I don't know Mazo. What's fx? I know summation, but I don't know fs. Oh yeah, now break it for us. Mr. Shola, I know that's you.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think fx is the number of the the number of the mean, the addition of the mean
Okay.
over the number, the times the means appear.
Now you can see the issue we in academics face sometimes. This is not to you now. That's why I say we in academics. Sometimes we find it difficult now to, and this is a typical problem almost everybody face from academia to industry. How to transfer what you know in academics to real world stuff. So this is key. How to apply it is always a challenge. Yeah. So, but once you can break it once, oh no, that will be fine. But that's it. Now, the formula you said is actually right. Summation X over N, or, that's what we're given. Summation X, FX, then you're talking about maybe probability or something. So now, what's the X in this case? The X is the list.
Yes.
The X is that list, everything, this whole list. What's the N? Summation X over N. What's N? The X is the length of the list. How many elements are there, right?
Yeah.
That's the length that we've been using. The len function. The len gave us how many elements are in that strings. It can also give us for list len function. So to translate the mass formula to find the mean, which you can save as a variable or not. If you want to save it as a variable, fine. So is the sum of L1 divided by the length of L1. So this is the summation. This is the N, summation X over N. This is the N. What's the N stand for? The number of elements in that list.
Yeah.
So it's a very key thing that you must, as you are reading, you must think, be practical. What does this really mean in the business sense? And that's why as you are doing this, your data analytics stuff, think business first, be interpreting them in business sense. Even if suppose you are not in the industry, think how does it apply to the business? That's the truth. Yeah. Okay. So if we run this, then it gives us the decimal, which is the sum of this divided by the number of elements there. I've talked about how to remove something from a list. Is using the pop. Well, you won't be using that too much, but at least if you need it, you know it. What about sorting? How do we sort? I know we're going to get to interesting stuff and a bit challenging now, but how do we sort a list? Sorting is one of the hottest topic in computer science, but we're not talking about computer science here. So sorting, how do we sort a list? You've been using sorting in Excel. I remember I saw in one class I just bashed into. You guys did sorting. How do you do that in Excel? How do you sort a column? You guys are pro now. I know James is in love with Excel.
I think we saw from ascending order to descending order.
Ascending order. Ascending means what?
Order of increases from lower to highest.
Good. And descending means highest to smallest, right? Good. Yeah, I like simple terms because I don't know how to speak too much grammar. So now that's right. You are very correct, sir. So we can sort this. And so we have a function, we have a method that can do it. You can see how important it is for Python to come up with two different ways on how to sort. One is a function, the other is a method. So a function, remember I told you for function, you must remember the name of the function. It's called sorted. But that's confusing. That's a past tense, sorted, meaning I've already sorted it for you, even before you do it. Don't mind Python, that name is confusing. So if I put L1, because that's the variable here, the variable is called L1. Now, by default, it's going to sort in ascending, meaning from the smallest to the biggest. And that's why I put this word reverse is false, meaning I'm not going to sort from the biggest to the smallest. And by default, I'm just giving you the sorting of this list from the smallest to the biggest in ascending order. That's the default. You can see it's sorted for us. It's this guy here. Let's copy this so that we don't have to be scrolling up and down. Remember I said this is a crash course, so I'm not going into detail, but I'm giving you those things you will need. Now, so this sorted in small from smallest to big, and we can sort in descending order too. So if we just set that reverse equals to true instead of false, it's sorted from the highest to the smallest. Now what if I call L1 as, am I going to get this sorted list? No. So that's what function does. Function just gives you the answer. It doesn't overwrite the already existing list. It doesn't. You can save it in a new variable called maybe sorted L1. Let's say you save it as a variable, then that will save the result of this sorted function into this. But if you don't save it, I'm so sorry, it does not override the original list. So that's why Python gave us, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
What if you put in place equals true? Would it override the original list?
I know you these data scientists, not the basic Python doesn't have anything called in place. You see, is when you start working with data is another library called pandas that have the in place method. And that's what we're going to get into pandas working with data tomorrow. So you know that. So but the basic Python, this is what we're dealing with now is Python basic Python. We're not using any external library here, external package. So the basic built-in Python doesn't even know what it called in place. It doesn't. Let's try it. In place, if I press tab, it's not completing. Let me put it there. In place equals to true. Oh no, in place is an invalid keyword argument for sort. You see that? So the built-in Python doesn't have anything called in place. Okay?
Yes.
All right, so that's why Python gave us an alternative called sort, but that's a method. So instead of using the function sorted that doesn't overwrite, Python says, okay, don't worry, I know what you want. I have an alternative for you that is a method, it's called sort that will overwrite the existing list. So let's put dot and press tab, put S. There is a sort method. Now, by default, it will also be ascending, and it also has the reverse keyword, the argument. But let's use this. Now, you didn't see any result like in sorted. I've seen someone ask me this in the past that when I use sort, it didn't work. I didn't see any result. That's because it overwrites the existing list. Let's call L1 and see. Let me comment this guy out first so that I run L1. You see that L1, if you call L1 is the unsorted list. Now let's run this sort and call L1 now. Oh, it's being sorted. So that's the difference between sort and sorted. So sort will overwrite the existing list. Sorted will not do that. It just tells you, it just shows you the result of applying this function on this list, but it doesn't overwrite the original list. But sort will overwrite it, so you won't see it, but if you check the original list, you're going to see the work of sort. Is these two methods, are they very clear?
Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, please, I want to take you back a little bit.
Yeah, just call me Ken. Okay?
The main part.
Which main part?
Main, where we are calculating.
Mean. Okay.
I mistakenly used the curly bracket instead of the square bracket in the list for this.
This.
Yeah, so I mistakenly used the curly bracket.
Okay.
I discovered that the mean is not the same as the one you got.
So you did something like this.
Yes. So when I ran it, I got 19.5.
Okay.
So can you explain that?
Okay. That's a good question, but let me see who can, let me see someone to call here. Ahmed, are you there? Can you talk where you are?
I can hear you, sir.
Can you talk where you are?
I can talk. I'm in the library, but I can talk. I can
Okay.
hear. Yes.
So now Tolu use the curly bracket here instead of a square bracket. What? And he got a different result for this sum. But now I don't need you to explain why the result is different, but or maybe if you can, what do you think is going on by using this curly bracket instead of square brackets? Is it still a list?
No, it's not a list. This
It's
is
not
a dict.
a date.
Oh,
Okay, so yeah, thank you. I'll talk more on that. Let's check the type of L1 now. Okay, set. This is a set. So Ahmed said is a dict is not a dictionary. I will talk about dictionary later. Now, there are two data structure we use curly bracket for. Now, square bracket, that's why it's very important. You saw me emphasizing square bracket for list. So if I use a round, just this kind of bracket, this parenthesis is another data structure called tuple. But I don't think as a data analyst, you really need tuple. You don't need it. I don't think so. You may, if you need it, I'll talk about it later. But so the square bracket is for list. Now, this curly bracket is for two data structure. One is the dictionary Ahmed is trying to talk about, but I will talk about that later. And the other one is set. And I know we did set in mathematics and all of that, but one thing with set is this. Set does not allow duplicate. That's why you are getting different something. So when it sees this double 3, set will just give you one. It's going to just take one of the 3. It doesn't allow this 2, 3. And I will test it by removing one of it and check the sum and see why you are getting that result. So set doesn't allow duplicate. Okay, so if we say, let's find the length of this L1 and see. Let's see. Maybe, I don't know. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why did it tell me 8? Because it doesn't allow duplicate. So it sees only 1 3, even though you put 2 3. Even if I put another 3 there, see. Let's find the length again. It's still 8. Why? Because it doesn't allow duplicate. You get? So if I remove this 1 3, you will see that you will still get 19.5. Let me remove this. Do you see that?
Yes.
And if I change it to list now, with single 3, let's see if our result will match. Do you see that? That is still match. So Tolu has made me explain something about set. Is it clear to is it clear?
Yeah,
to
it's clear.
us?
Thank you.
All right. So that's a set, okay? Set has its own function method, but I don't even want to go into details about it because it's not, you may not need in data analytics context, okay? Yeah, so let's move on. We still have some time to talk about some interesting stuff. I have not talked about function. What's this guy saying range function? Well, we've used len function, we've used sum, we've used mean, minimum, max. So there's no big deal about range. What's the range? We use this a lot in English, saying, oh, this is a range of values. It's from range of 2 to 10. I know mathematician among us here has a different definition of range, like the difference between the highest and the smallest, but in Python, that's not what my range. It's just like a range of values. That's what Python means. So if I put range of 0 to 10, Python means you are talking about value from 0 to 9. You didn't see the result. You just return it back. But there are values inside. Let me list the values inside this range. Oh, then it gives me the range to be 0 to 9. So range is also exclusive at the end. So if I put range 0 to 10, 0,10, it's going to give me 0 to 9. If I put to 20, it's going to give me 0 to 19. Okay. I can also go in step in range. If you look at range also have this step, like that we talked about in slicing. I can move in step of 2. That will be 2, 4, 6, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, like that. I can move in step of 3. The original one is step of 1, so that's just, so range, this will come handy when we want to talk about this topic, because you don't need to list those numbers. You can just pass range and pass the range you want to go into the range function, and then we'll work on it. Questions so far? We've talked about a lot too, actually. We've talked about variables, different kind of variables, how to define a variable, how not to define a variable by starting with a number. We've talked about the float, the integer, the Boolean, the strings, and then we move properly to what we call strings. That anything inside a quote, single quote, double quote is a string, even if it's a number. How to index a string, like find any element in any position in the string. We talk about the positive indexing, the negative indexing from the back. Okay, and then we'll talk about the retrieving more than a single element called slicing, how to slice a string, like give us the first 4, the last 4, any position in the middle, how to reverse a string using the concept of slicing. We talk about strings method, like how to count any element in some subset, substring in a string, turn it to uppercase, lowercase, capitalize a string, split a string to list of strings. Then we talk about list, that is defined with a square bracket. And you can do the same indexing, slicing on list. You can apply some method like append to a list. You can update a list. You can remove from a list using the pop method. You can insert into some element into any position in the list. So you can do all of that. And then we can sort a list using sorted or sort. And we said the difference between sorted and sort is that sort is a function, sorted is a function, sort is a method. Sort, we sort the list in ascending or descending, but does not overwrite the existing list. But sort is a method. It can give you ascending or descending, but it will overwrite the existing list. And then range, just a range of values. If you want to see the values there, just wrap it around the function list, like we did here, like list. List is a function of range, maybe 2 to 6, that will give us 2 to 5. So you can start at any position, actually, it doesn't have to be 0. All right, so a tip before you go, so that tomorrow we just talk about list comprehension functions, and then we start working with data. Okay, data, because that's what you are training as a data analyst. So we need to spend more of our time on data, and that's why I'm giving a crash course on the
Hi,
data.
Kenny.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Please, I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's the main essence of reversing a string as a data analyst?
Okay. I like the question. Why should I reverse a string?
You know why I ask?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, you wrote an information out about what we thought is what we think.
Yeah.
Okay, what we think is what we became, or what we become. Rather, then it has a reverse string form. So now in reversing it, looking at it that way, you hardly understand what it means.
Exactly.
So I really want to know the essence of using that application. as a database.
Actually, for you as a data analyst, I don't know if you will, especially let's say you are in Nigeria, right?
Sorry?
You are in Nigeria, right?
I'm in Nigeria, yeah.
So like you are in Nigeria right now. So, well, in working as a data analyst in Nigeria, you may not need it kind of for now. But if tomorrow you want to build on your current knowledge to and move into data science proper, I mean data science, and I'm working truly as a data scientist, whereby you move also onto the point of building models, working with complex stuff, text, you will need that knowledge. So I just put that in for you to be aware something, this kind of stuff exists. You may not really need it now in working with data because you may not want to reverse. But you can see that if I want to, but it's also essential that if I have my data in a list and I want to go from the end to the beginning, I can reverse
That's right. That's right.
that data.
That's
So
right.
that I will be going from the end to the beginning. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just the concept. It's the same way you reverse a string, same way we reverse a list, and if there is data in there, we can just reverse that data and then move. If I want to go from the end. Yeah, that's just the only important application.
Hi. I know I've come across bubble sort. What is it used for?
Well, I don't want to go into algorithm. So this bubble sort is a type of sort. So we have different type of sort. We have quick sort, bubble sort, merge sort, insertion sort, different kind of sort. So because sorting, like I said, that I checked in like sorting is an odd topic in computer science. So there are more than 10 different type of sorts. But what Python did was to take the best and the fastest sorting algorithm and put it inside, and they gave us a sort. But the sort Python is actually using this what we call a quick sort. But you don't need all of those details. I need it because I'm a computer scientist, but you don't need it. And so when you want to go higher, you want to care about, maybe you are working with billions of data now, billions, and you care about how fast my work model should be, then you may care about algorithms, how to write my code. And now I care about the time, not just the accuracy. That's a different topic on its own, called algorithms. But you don't need that as a data analyst or even data scientist at the beginning. You don't really need that, except you are working with company like Facebook as a data scientist. Yeah, you may need that. Okay, so it's just a type of sort, but you don't need to care about it. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right. No.
Sorry, Mr. King.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now, so this range,
Yeah.
I want to find the range, like this numbers you gave us now, this 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. I want to find the range between 2 and 10.
When you say you want to find the range, what do you mean? Do you mean you want to list out values between 2 and 10, or you want to find how many numbers are between 2 and 10?
I want to list out values between 0 to 10 from this list of numbers now.
Values between
0 to 10.
Yeah, that's so easy. That's the range of 0, 10. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, from these numbers you have now, this 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, like that.
I'm finding it hard to understand your question. I don't get what do you mean exactly? So let me say what range does. Range just tells you, if I put range 0,10, it gives me value from 0 to 9.
Can you scroll up a little bit?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I have a set of from this output 95 now, this 2, 3, 3, 4, 6, 9. I want to find the range between 0 to 10. So just call out numbers between 0 to 10 for me.
From this one.
Yes.
Okay, values here between that are between 0 to 10, which is like these ones, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Now, this one now will lead also. So other question in mind, you are not going to write, there's no function that will do that for you. You will write a code for that. And that's exactly what this interesting topic that I put here, what we want to start doing. Again, because we're going to go through the list, and then once the number is less than 10, we will save it someplace. 2 is less than 10, 3 is less than 10, this is less than 10, less than 10, less than 10, less than 10. We'll save them one place and then we'll print the result. That's all. All of these are more than 10, so we won't say. So we have to write a code to go through this list and print them out. Is easy actually, but that's all this topic is about. I don't know if the time is enough, but just to give you a tip in that, let's do it. Let me just do it. You may not really understand it, but I will explain it very well tomorrow. So our L1 is this. Now we want to save the results. Now you may not understand what I will write, but I will explain deeply tomorrow because another class is starting soon and I'm the one taking the class. So, okay. So we have L1 already as a variable. Okay, so we can just loop through it. There's something called a for loop. I'll talk about them tomorrow. For, let's just use the word norm in L1 and say, okay, if that norm is less than 10, what do? Append. We did append. Append meaning save the result in, save that number in result. That's all. That's how I'm done. I'm done. I won't write more than this. Okay, I'm looking, I'm going through all the elements in the list, and I'm saying if the number is less than 10, save it in this place. And at the end, let's see what we have. That's just it. Okay, so let's see if Kenny has not messed up. Is this what you want?
Yeah.
That's it. So we have to write a code for it. And we can sort this if we want to sort and all of that. Okay, so yeah, so we have to write the code, but don't worry, I will explain all of these jargons tomorrow, and we'll move from there to data. I hope we gain 1 or 2 things today.
Yeah, so can you please, the time change, right?
Yes, so for Sunday, let me repeat that again, and I'm going to send an email.
Is that starting tomorrow?
Yes. Okay. So the time for Sunday, it was going to be 5 p.m. Nigerian time. Okay. On Sunday alone, on Sunday. Okay. Saturday will still be 12 p.m. Nigerian time, but Sunday is going to be 5 p.m. Nigerian time.
So in your time, in US time, that would be.
Oh, that's like, I think my time is going to change tomorrow, so it should be 12 p.m.
I think it will change by 2 o'clock.
Well, yeah, so I think it's going to be around 12 my own time. Okay. All right. So see you tomorrow. And if you can do well to do some practice before tomorrow, that will make some sense, because we're just going to build on where we stop, what we've learned today. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So please do good to have to enjoy the rest of the day. And by God's grace, we'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. Nigerian time.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.